Alright, so I want to talk about Metal Max Zero Reborn. This game comes out June 10th, 2022. This game is a port of a PlayStation and PlayStation 4 and a Vita game that I think came out 4 years ago in 2018. This here, it's the Reborn edition. I went to the Steam page and unfortunately it didn't have any information on here on what is new about this. Like, did they do any changes to dialogue, graphics overhauling, balancing it out? So there might be information on some other page, but the Steam page does not have it. As far as I can tell, it might be optimized a little bit. I had it ran really well, but then again, it was just a PS Vita and a PlayStation 4 game. They do make a note on the Steam page to say that this thing does run well with a controller. I did play with a Xbox One, and it worked really, really well. Really quick before I deep dive into it, some of the major bugs that I've been having, I say bugs, they were just small things. For example, maybe textures didn't pop up for some explosions. You guys ever play CSGO when you are missing some textures on your local files? So when you hover over and look over there, it says like missing textures, and you see it in all like light ass purple colors. It was the same here. Sometimes I would explode something and then it would just be purple. Maybe the camera would mess up and I can see behind it. So it's little pop-up textures, but other than that, things ran really well so far. So what is this game, what it's about, and is going to be worth your time and money. I want to thank the devs and publishers Kadokawa Games and PQ for the review copy. However, all thoughts will be my own. I did not play the original. However, jumping into this, I thought it was going to be a very sort of linear RPG, very like by the books, where you're going to be like, oh, 20 minutes of cutscene, you go through a small dungeon, do some fights, like really basic strategy, and then another like 30 minutes of cutscenes. This one, it's all action right off the bats. So you play as this character. You could rename him, and it doesn't even start with the story. It just throws you in a tutorial. You are in this dystopian version of Tokyo. There was some sort of great calamity where you can learn the lore via talking to NPCs in the world, but basically it's many years later, generations later, and humans are very scarce and they are trying to survive in this extremely hazardous environment that is overrun with gigantic insects, autonomous drones with, equipped with missiles and mutant sharks, and there's just a ton of different types of enemies. The whole goal of this game is basically you join up a group called the Iron Base, and you are essentially tasked with getting a tank, finding other sort of NPCs in the world, getting stronger, and saving quote-unquote the rest of mankind by going out and just defeating these gigantic bosses. So combat here works in two sort of ways. There's on-foot mechanics, and then there is the vehicle one. We'll start with the on-foot one. This one, you are very vulnerable to big enemies. So this is more of when you have to, for example, maybe going into underground areas or trying to squeeze into alleyways where your vehicles cannot go, and then you're going to be going here. You have okay, so it basically has an action time bar, meaning it goes on speed. Your character can have a primary, a sub weapon. This can be basic guns, RPGs, sniper rifles, melee, handguns, wrenches, etc. And you basically run in an environment and you attack enemies via issuing commands. As soon as you ambush people with a command, then the fight starts, and then ATB. In this game, you can actually run around while your ATB bar is loading. In some games, it's absolutely useless that it does that, and it just feels sort of just like for flavor, like, oh, I'm running around the enemy. It doesn't really matter. Here it does, because sometimes you have to be a certain distance for your weapon to be able to activate. Same thing for the enemies. And also there are some AoE attacks, or maybe you want to line up multiple enemies together because you have different sorts of attacks, like a cone or maybe a small AoE that does multiple damage. So positioning in this game is very, very important. There's also a lot of JRPG stuff like, oh, resistances, really good against fire. And they have some other ones called beam, cold, sonic attack. There's a lot of different ones and all the status stuff. So that's the basic stuff. You attack the enemy, they attack you. Positioning, you can use skills, which is really cool, and you can use items. After you level up, every character has a sort of skill tree where you can start putting points into passive stats like HP, more attack, and you can get awesome skills to allow you to use more guns at a time or just be more proficient in other things. So that's the basic on foot combat. It's pretty cool. Now, the vehicle combat, this is crazy. Okay, so every character is going to be able to go into a tank. And according to the screenshot here I'm seeing on the Steam page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's around 7 characters you can recruit in the game, and they all start with their own their unique vehicles, and you can find more in the game. And what these do is basically allow you to traverse the world faster, more safer, and fight off big monsters. So once you're in a tank, instead of moving around with just the left stick, it plays like a sort of a vehicle game, driving game on a controller. Right stick or RT to go forward, LT to go back. And it's but combat kind of initiates the same way. As soon as you are in range with the different types of weapons that you equip, you can go ahead and shoot the enemy and just go from there. You got lots of different types of weapons you could put on your vehicle. You got cannons, you got special equipments, and you have miniguns. These are the sort of things you're going to be using, and it's going to be sort of a rock, paper, scissors. Like if you're fighting a sort of insect, you can probably hit with a machine gun and do full damage, but if you're going to fight another tank, you might want to switch to a cannon, otherwise you're going to be doing almost nothing. There's also airborne enemies, lots of them that pop up. When you're traversing the world, you can get lots of loot on the ground, and the vehicle customization here is pretty intense. First of all, yeah, you can paint your vehicle, you can change the colors of all of your weapons that you put on. There are accessories, these sort of powerful chips that give you special abilities you can equip and unequip at any time. These are extremely powerful. For example, maybe you can put a chip on that allows you to use 2 of your machine guns at once. Now you can customize these, like every vehicle has their affinities. Maybe one is better for defense and thus they want to wear more cannons, or one is very fast so they want to use machine guns. You can lean into those proficiencies, or you can start customizing it even more using money in the game, which is used from selling items that you find, or just defeating monsters, or doing gigantic wanted mini bosses. You're going to be using the money to upgrade the machine guns you get, the cannons, create new ones with resources, and you can unlock more slots. So if one of your starting vehicles only has 2 machine gun slots, you can reconstruct one and turn it into a cannon, or you have 5 other slots, make more cannon slots, or make a special equipment slot. So you really have to customize and make sure you have the builds that you want. You can make somebody specialize in one thing, or have a little bit of everything for everyone. But you have to remember, every vehicle has their own different sort of weight limit as well. So if you have like 1,000,000 cannons, vehicle might not even be able to run, etc. So that's the vehicle construction and the on-foot combat and the vehicle combat. I do have to mention though, during vehicle combat, you can use the terrain to your advantage, hide behind stuff, because the enemy also has an ATB bar. So while yours is loading and they're loading, you can drive around. So once again, positioning is really important here. Once your sort of vehicle gets messed up and destroyed, it doesn't completely like game you over and kill your character. Once the initial armor is gone, then when you get hit again, it attacks your weapons. So it goes from like perfectly good % weapon that does 100% damage. It goes to orange, makes it weaker, and then red completely, which is, so it makes it broken until you head back to base. There's lots of items you can use to repair those. But once all of your weapons are gone, then you can still run around. But if you get hit even more, the vehicle will become completely disabled, and you're going to have to jump out and fight on foot. If that usually happens, you're fighting big robots, and man, unless you're prepared with a lot of consumables like grenades or rocket launchers, you're going to be screwed, and then you're going to die. Luckily in this game, it's very forgiving. When you die, you simply go back to base. Not an issue at all. So this game like really promotes just going out, running around, fighting, killing, leveling up, and doing it all over again. Basically, you want to just keep getting stronger to progress the story to defeat the next monster. And though it might seem pretty bland, like that gameplay loop, there's a lot of NPCs to talk to. There's a lot of things to collect. There's a lot of upgrades to do. You're not just upgrading your vehicle. You're also getting equipment for your character. So you get accessories, hats, gloves, pants, and all that. And one more thing I want to mention is you get a 4th companion. You could always have 3 at once in your party. And along with those 3 people, you have 3 vehicles, which you can customize. But you also have a dog with you. You can name them. It's a Shiba Inu. He sits in your base while you're there. You can feed him different sorts of treats. Doing so gives them skill points, and then he has his own set of skills that helps you in combat. He follows you, so when you're out there on foot combat, he follows you on foot combats. So you can't command him directly, but he does his own things. You could equip him with a machine gun, give him armor, a really cool collar. It's just pretty cool. So, yeah, that is it. That is the game. It's not bad at all. It's once again, this is a port from a PlayStation 4 and a PS Vita game. As opposed to how it runs, it's pretty good. It ran really well, except for these small graphical errors I had. I do have to also mention in the settings, there isn't a lot to change up anything besides gamma and maybe just the resolution. There's no like tweaking view distance. There's no tweaking the graphical intensity, medium, etc. There's none of that. It's very, very basic. I think some of the wording is also messed up during some of the text in the game that I've noticed. And it's very basic in terms of the other sort of settings. Sound, you can do the slider for music, sound effects, and voices, but there's no subtitles. But that's okay, because they're not really talking during combat. You hear little quips in Japanese, but it's not really necessary. The game is voice acted, and they have subtitles there. It's also in Japanese. You have no option for English, but that's okay. You know, you got everything that you need here. So the game runs well. It's a good game. It really surprised me with how good that they blended this sort of vehicle combat with the JRPG aspect that we all know and love. It really surprised me further when this game just wasn't a crazy story game, at least not at the beginning. Later on, you get more like quests, mini quests, side quests. You'd be talking to people and teleporting all over the place. But at the beginning, it's just like throw you in the game. Here's some pop-up tutorials. Learn, go in, die. Because once again, it's not punishing at all. Though you can save before a boss battle, and you can go in, use up all your potions, and die, and then you get teleported back to town. You might want to just simply restart your load, and that's okay. Like, you know, you save all your stuff. So lots of customizing here. It's not a brain-dead JRPG, and that's what I like. JRPGs are good when the world building is great, and here it's just like dystopian, sand everywhere, tanks, mechs and giant monsters are fun, but it doesn't bog you down with like hours and hours of sitting there, sleepy face, reading dialogue. It's just quick, fast, and man, the combat's fun. Like, it's really cool how you have positional advantages, and so does the enemy. You have to learn what they're weak against, etc. I can keep going on, but that was it. Metal Max Zero Reborn. I wish I played the original, but this one's cool too. I'll probably be playing all of it, so if you guys enjoy, leave a like. It helps a lot. If you haven't already, subscribe for daily videos. If you have any more questions about the game that I didn't answer, put it in the comments below. If you want to see the full playthrough I'm doing, there's a link in the description to my Let's Play channel, and also come my Twitch. This is where we're going to be live streaming all of it, Discord, etc., all down there. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.